My name is Amy Quichiz. I'm 26 years old and I'm from Jackson Heights, Queens, New York. And VEGGIE MIJAS is a women of color, books of color collective where we talk about our plant-based lifestyles and our marginalized identities and how they intersect.
There are chapters of VEGGIE MIJAS around the States, and I think also in other countries, right?
In one country.
Okay, India? Okay. But since I'm in Illinois, I wanted to highlight the Chicago chapter. Can you tell us about this chapter? How does one join any chapter? And who are these a safe space for?
Yeah, so for the Chicago chapter, the organizers are Daniela and Lisa, and they are incredible. They have been with VEGGIE MIJAS since the beginning, and they collaborate with other BIPOC organizations and individuals, organizers, to create sustainable partnerships. Like, there's just so many incredible people in Chicago that are doing amazing work, and they're really focusing on reaching out to everyone. That way, VEGGIE MIJAS is always like doing community work with the people that are already doing the work on the ground. They just are actually establishing a community fridge that will be launching soon. They have worked so hard to make educational content and pamphlets, not just, opening a fridge, but letting folks know how to make plant-based recipes with the things that are on the fridge. The way that people can get involved in VEGGIE MIJAS is through going on our website and our Instagram and signing up through our interest form. And there's a lot of positions that you can take within VEGGIE MIJAS, whether that is organizing or recruiting or whatever it is that you're interested in. And if you've never organized before, you're more than welcome to still be an organizer. And we will definitely teach people and have been teaching people how to organize, because people are so passionate about their own communities and have been, around their communities forever. And I think it's so important for them to get organizing experiences.
That's amazing. I'm currently paying extra special attention to the community I surround myself with and how that community can act as a model for a better world, a different world. I feel like that's what you're doing with VEGGIE MIJAS.
When I started VEGGIE MIJAS, I didn't know I was going to start VEGGIE MIJAS. I thought I was just going to get a group of friends together and talk about veganism within ourselves. And a lot of people started joining VEGGIE MIJAS and wanted to create spaces that were outside of New York. And I think that speaks more about the necessity that there is to talk about food justice and environmental justice. The intersections of food and safety and women's rights and all immigrant rights, like everything goes so hand in hand that I think that VEGGIE MIJAS really captures it all. VEGGIE MIJAS captures the necessity of talking about all of these intersections and having that práctica, that talk and practice, right?
Part of your mission is relearning ancestral practices through foods, but also plant-based recipes were already a part of ancestral food, right? And I feel like mainstream veganism or white veganism doesn't ever talk about how plant-based was often a way of living before an area was colonized. Am I saying that right? And then maybe tell me more about that.
A lot of people in the community still feel like calling themselves or labeling themselves vegan can be harmful because of the way that other, especially white vegans, have policed people of color with food. And I completely agree. However, for me, I think that calling myself vegan is reclaiming the way that that label was taken for me, and really acknowledging like my ancestors and what they used to eat. And by ancestors, I also mean like my family line. When I became vegan and I started realizing a lot of things, I asked them and I was like, hey, what did you eat before coming to the US? Like, what were y'all eating before processed foods, And they would tell me all of the dishes that they would eat, and it was all plant-based or mostly plant-based. It says a lot. It's just so many little things in which people have to first start questioning where their food is coming from, questioning why they're eating this, questioning what does tradition mean to you, questioning all of the things that have been given to you as facts. Just like, when we're looking at the dairy industry and how they pushed for dairy into Black and brown communities, in reality, it causes so many issues to our people. I think relearning ancestral practices through foods means, yes, looking back, but also how do we move forward from that? How do we move forward from all the damage that governments or institutions have done to our communities?
Environmental racism is a big reason to go vegan. Can you educate readers more on this and maybe how that intersects with even more issues? I'm immediately thinking of just even where big ag is being located in certain towns and who that affects, who's working at these places. I know it's bigger than that though, but that's where my brain was starting if you just want to know where the question came from.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking about where these factories are located, and it's mostly Black and brown communities that have a bunch of health problems. I'm thinking about the people that work in these factories that are mostly Black and brown immigrant folks, that, these institutions use fear of deportation to keep them in these jobs. We can think about how these people that are in these factories, they're abusing these animals, right? And when they come back home, do they just clock out that abuse? I don't think so, right? There's a lot of studies that show that a lot of people have a lot of abusive history in their households, especially like if for factory workers. Everything overlaps. And I think that if you're passionate about anything, watch the connection of food and environmental justice, because it is 100% there.
Are you okay with talking about toxic white veganism? Because I don't want you to feel like, because I'm white, we can't have a real conversation. Okay. White folks just don't have a perspective of a lot of stuff, and so the awareness isn't there. And yeah.
Because we don't have to.
Right.
So I joined this animal rights club. And when I got in, everyone in there was white. And we started talking about PETA and doing all of these protests. And I remember one of these protests, some guy dressed up on a cage and put blood on him with fur, and I was really just taken back, and I didn't even know why, right? Secondly, all of these PETA ads were with women being covered in the foil thing, and just being very objective. We were posting those up, and I was really uncomfortable, not knowing why again. And it wasn't until after that I had more knowledge and vegan non-white friends that I was yo, we're putting folks in cages when that's literally happening to folks of color right now. It was just all so traumatic that I think white vegans don't realize that they're doing this because they're pushing so hard for their mission of saving these animals that they don't see the correlation of how people of color have so much more to deal with. My advice to start educating yourself is to see how veganism really ties into all of these issues, and follow folks of color that are vegan and plant-based instead of white vegans. I think changing the mic and passing the mic is so important, especially when we're talking about these issues, when people don't see that correlation.
VEGGIE MIJAS provides this safe space for people of color in a vegan realm, but in more than that. Can we talk about why that's important and why white folks don't have to be able to go to everything?
People that are trying to be vegan or vegan have felt policed in some ways from white vegans. And I think that having a safe space to talk about what's happening in our communities, what's happening to our people, what's happening to ourselves is so important. To share a space with people that have similar experiences in order to validate something that people have been trying to invalidate for years. There's a lot of layers of VEGGIE MIJAS, and that can be radical joy, radical self-care, taking care of each other, and doing something for our own people to have our own revolution. Because what would a world look like without whiteness?
love that.